Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the third episode of the Unlimited Characters podcast presented by your boy Entertainment. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. Going to be going into a few different topics today. Going to be starting off with some NBA, then some Chicago Bulls, Chicago Cubs, UFC 300, and NCAA women's and men's tournament championships. Both were great games. Everything that's been going on in the sports world has been amazing pretty as of recent, just word fumbling it up. But everything's been great. I mean, you're right now getting towards NBA playoffs. We just finished up with March Madness. Baseball's getting underway. NFL draft is on the way. UFC's getting into the middle of all their bigger, more popular cards with all the names on it. UFC 300 is going to be pretty much a banger. Prelims are insane. The free fights are crazy. So even if you're not a big fan of the UFC, at least check out the prelims. Prelims are free on ESPN, so check those out. You'll probably get hooked, probably want to buy the pay-per-view. But let's get started, man. Right now I want to kind of just get into the NBA playoff preview, Western Conference rankings right now, Western Conference standings. Minnesota's in first, Denver's in second, Oklahoma City's currently in third, LA in fourth, Dallas in fifth, the Pelicans in sixth, Phoenix, Sacramento, Los Angeles Lakers, and Golden State Warriors. They're currently in the play-in bracket right now. It's hard to fathom that Phoenix, Los Angeles Lakers, and the Warriors would all be in the play-in game. Those have probably the three biggest names in the NBA: Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry. I don't think anybody at the beginning of the year would have imagined that those three teams would be in the play-in bracket, but here we are. Phoenix is only a game out of sixth. Los Angeles is only like a 2.5 games out of sixth as well. But they've been pretty wishy-washy all season. It's not looking too good for the Lakers. Anthony Davis didn't play the other night. LeBron James sat out the game before that. The Warriors did end up beating the Lakers last night, so that's some good news for them. But they're still, a half game behind LA for that 9 seed. And I talked about it a few times, but whoever finishes 9th gets to host the 10 seed, and obviously hoping to finish outside of that play-in bracket's the best opportunity. If you do finish in 7th or 8th, you just play for one game. You're good if you win. If you lose, you got to play again. So it's advantageous to kind of just obviously avoid that. And Warriors and the Lakers are both older teams, so it definitely makes a lot more sense to, take their time, rather get a little bit farther if they could. But, they haven't been able to do that all season. It's a little surprising. I think a lot of people thought both teams were going to be a lot better. The Lakers made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals last year. They put up a fight. In most of the games against the Nuggets, they obviously got taken care of pretty easily. But they put up a fight, had the closest games against them. The Warriors went out, added Chris Paul, drafted Podziemski. So, they made some moves, but things didn't look great all year. Klay Thompson hasn't played the best, but he's been coming on strong as of late. Draymond just can't get it together. Seems to get a technical every other day for no reason. The reason seems to start to get slimmer and slimmer for what is the purpose of getting some of these technical fouls. There was even a lot of videos of like Steph Curry crying when Draymond got kicked out of that one game, like not even before the 3-minute timeout hit. So, man, NBA, it just doesn't fail. The drama for the NBA is always there. All the time, every other day, there's a new story. But right now, what's can't even talk. What's interesting to take a look at: Minnesota, Denver, and Oklahoma City, all within one game for the 1 seed. What a lot of people are talking about is obviously whoever's going to make it out of this play-in tournament, besides the Kings, has probably more experience as a team than the Timberwolves do, than the Oklahoma City Thunder do. So what happens here? If you finish first, you're most likely going to end up playing, either the Lakers, Suns, or the Warriors. Kings, I would say, obviously have a chance, but they're missing Malik Monk and Kevin Huerta for the rest of the year. So they're pretty much done. I would say that's 2 top rotation players. So I don't see them really beating any of these other teams down here in the play-in bracket. But Phoenix, LA, Golden State, they all have winning experience. So maybe for a team like Minnesota or Oklahoma City, they might be a little bit nervous to play one of those teams with those big Hall of Fame names: Kevin Durant, Curry, LeBron. So that top of the Western Conference, it's going to be very, very tight, very interesting to see how it plays out. A lot of these matchups are going to kind of depend on who finishes where. So, I mean, I think Denver probably doesn't care where they finish. They definitely have the most built roster, the most complete team. Everybody on their team knows their role. Murray plays the point guard role perfectly. Jokic does everything you could think of on a basketball court, even if it doesn't look like he could do it perfectly. He does it better than that. Aaron Gordon plays the dunker spot. He's always in that great opportunity to, just get a lob, finish right at the rim, gets every rebound. Michael Porter Jr., a 6'10 shooter that can spread the floor, get rebounds. Let's not talk about his podcast, Interesting Clips. And then they got KCP, the ultimate, team player, learned how to win when he was on the Lakers. He can hit a three. He can play defense. The Nuggets really do just have a full team. They lost a little bit of that depth from last year, but overall, they're still probably that team that, it's hard to bet against them. So I don't think they care if they finish first, second, or third. But Minnesota, Oklahoma City, they're probably going to try to see, where do the rest of the chips fall within the Western Conference? Who's going to be ranked where? Do they want to avoid anybody? I don't think so. I think they could win, but it's going to be a close call to see who finishes first, who's second, who's third, who wants to play LeBron, who wants to play Steph Curry. Playing AD and LeBron in a series, definitely not easy, and that size can wear you down. Minnesota and Denver obviously have the size for it, but maybe it seemed like OKC, the Lakers might not be the best matchup versus a team like, maybe the Warriors match up better with the Timberwolves just because they could spread out Rudy Gobert, spread everyone out. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't come back yet. He's looking to play the last 3 games. So it's going to be a close call in the West. Dallas right now, the hottest team in the NBA. They've won 9 out of their last 10, 4 games in a row. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic finally clicking, finally looking like what probably the Dallas Mavericks expected when they went out and got Kyrie Irving. So they've been playing great. I think right now a lot of people probably see them as the biggest threat in the West outside of Denver just due to that star power. We've all seen Luka in the playoffs. We've all seen Kyrie in the playoffs. We remember Game 7, Kyrie, clutch game winner against Golden State. Luka against the Clippers. Luka's averaging 40 in the playoffs, crazy stuff like that. So Dallas, be afraid, be very afraid, Western Conference. I think Dallas is coming for everybody. And Luka Doncic, he's that guy, man. Luka Doncic's got it. Kyrie's got it. They got a nice surrounding cast. So watch out for Dallas. They're 5th right now. They'd be going up against the Clippers, and we all know that Luka has owned the Clippers in the playoffs. And who knows, they might get up to 4th. Clippers only have a few games left too, but Luka's scary in the playoffs. So watch out for those Dallas Mavericks. Watch out for Luka Doncic. Watch out for Kyrie. They're coming. But Eastern Conference now, let's take a look real quick. Not as exciting. Eastern Conference feels like it's been wrapped up for months at this point. Boston's right now the best record in the NBA, 62 wins. And I feel like they're flying under the radar. When we were younger, or when I was younger, 62 wins, that would be talked about. People are like, yo, this team got 60 wins. This is one of the best records in the NBA. They've only lost 17 times. I mean, at home, they're 35-3, 7-3 in their last 10. I mean, obviously, to have that good of a record, they're pretty much winning 7-6 out of every 10 games. So Boston's been running away with it. We'll see what they could do. They've kind of had the opposite problem of not being able to finish in the 4th, not being able to finish in the finals, not being able to finish in some of these playoff series. So they got to prove it. I think they have the full team. They've got a roster. They've got pretty much everything you need. So this is their year. If they don't make it out of the East, I don't even know what they're going to do. They'll probably trade somebody. Even though they shouldn't, they probably will. But right behind them at a close 14 games, which this is how horrible is. I mean, the East is, I guess you could call it parity, but 48 wins is the second best team. That doesn't even make any sense to me. The season's almost over. There's going to be a few teams with 50 wins. The Boston Celtics with 60-something. Bucks are like 14 games behind the Celtics. Giannis, he actually just got hurt. He ended up with a calf strain. So they're looked at as like the biggest threat. They haven't even been playing that well. Bucks are only 4-6 in their last 10 games, but Giannis now got hurt. Things aren't looking good for the Bucks this year, man. It seems like every decision, every move they make has not really gone their way. The Dame Lillard The Dame Lillard acquisition during the summer, it's great for their offense, but defense has kind of suffered. And, I kind of credit that a little bit to also the fact that it's just a regular season. They're only here to play for the playoffs. You can kind of sleepwalk through the East, but it's also scary to, rely on that and think you're going to turn a switch on, especially when you've never played together as this full unit in the playoffs. But getting Doc Rivers, that hasn't gone their way. Even before that, Adrian Griffin, I guess, wasn't going their way. It's hard for the Bucks to fall out of second, I would say. It's by default. The Knicks, everybody's hurt. Julius Randle got hurt. Mitchell Robinson got hurt. Brunson's had to sit out at a few different times. Orlando, they're very young. I mean, they're on the rise, but you're relying on second-year player Paolo Banchero. You're relying on Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs. So they're a really young team, someone that definitely probably going to end up making the second round, but probably not too ready to make some noise and just, kind of make moves just yet. After that, Cleveland's kind of that X factor. They have the roster. They got the names. Mitchell also got hurt, and it seems like they can never just stay healthy. But in the East this year, I think, it's really up in the air who can end up making the conference final. It could be another year like that year where Atlanta snuck in and ended up in the conference final, and now they're hanging out the bottom of the pool with us and the Chicago Bulls fans. But after Cleveland, got Indiana. Halliburton's been injured pretty much the whole second half of the season with something lingering. They made it to the play-in final. I don't see them really doing anything. And then an interesting opponent, and two of them here at the bottom, are Philadelphia and Miami. So Embiid just came back. He kind of tweaked his knee, it looked like, the other night, but I think everything's going to be all right. But he's back. They're looking good. Miami's Miami. They're number 8 again. We know what they did last year. We know what they've done in the past. It seems like now in the NBA, a lot of teams, especially if you're more veteran oriented, there's obviously a ton of play-in spots, ton of playoff spots now. You can kind of make it a coast through. And that's more, I would say that's definitely more in the East. The West is like the gauntlet, everybody, every night, gladiators, lace them up. We're going into the ring. We're fighting. Eastern Conference, a little different. We're here at the resort. There's a couple teams that are competitive. Everybody else kind of hanging out in the pool, playing on the ping pong table. Different conferences, different vibes. Miami seems to kind of take advantage of that, where they'll build up all season. They know they can make it in the East just off of sheer coaching effort and some of the talent they have. But bottom of the East is scary, but that part, not the bottom, not the part where the Bulls and the Hawks are at right now, but that part right above. Philadelphia, Miami, they can definitely make some noise if they match up, against the Milwaukee or one of the Knicks. They could have an upset there at that 7 spot. And they're both pretty close to 6 seed. So Indiana is only a game ahead of Philadelphia. They're a game and a half ahead of Miami. There's less than, there's not how many games right now. There's about maybe less than 10 games for everybody, less than 7 or 8 games. So things are close, got to win. But Philadelphia, Miami, coming from that bottom part of the bracket, they're going to be a problem. And below them, Chicago and Atlanta, the perennial every year play-in teams stuck at the bottom of the crab barrel. It's sad. I don't even want to talk about it too much. If you've seen some of my shorts, those YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, Bulls in 60 seconds, we're on a couple of game losing streak right now, but we're doing what we can, y'all. We're doing what we can. And let's talk a little bit more just about the Bulls then. That's perfect timing. So Bulls right now lost 7 of their last 10. Things are pretty much spiraling. I don't know if you can actually spiral once you're already like at the bottom, but we're continuing to go lower. Every time I think rock bottom's not here, boom, there's another hole. We fall a little bit lower. Last night, I'm sure everybody saw that highlight play. Torrey Craig goes up, throws the alley-oop off the glass. He's going for it himself. Andre Drummond thinks it's going for him. They both go for the ball. They both miss. Pretty much a summary of the entire Bull season. They're trying. They're doing the right thing, but they just don't got it, y'all. It's just not it. This Bulls team, this iteration of this Bulls team, not it at all. DeMar DeRozan, free agent coming up soon. I doubt we'll keep him unless, he takes some type of pay cut. Or, we also might keep him because the Bulls are the Bulls. They'll probably pay him just enough to avoid paying the tax. He's probably not going to get too much money anywhere else. So he might end up staying. I was looking, I don't know why I've been thinking Vooch is like a free agent or out the door. We have him until 2026. Who did that? I don't know why I don't understand how we're here. So I'm hoping summer comes along, we blow things up. I mean, it's getting to that point right now where it's hard to watch. It's hard to be enthusiastic. I know there's like a week and a half or about a week and a half or left in the season, and I'm just counting the days. I'm ready for it to be over, y'all. Put us out of our misery. I'm still probably going to be goofy and go to the play-in game, but that'll be for the vibes if we're able to host it, because at this point we might fall to 10th and they might have to go to Atlanta. So maybe the funeral for the season will be on the road. Might be better for all of us. And even with all of that going on, Billy Donovan, rumors going on about him right now that he might be interested in Kentucky's head coaching job. They got rid of John Calipari left. He's with Arkansas. So that's opened up. Billy Donovan was an assistant under Rick Pitino at Kentucky. So that's what kind of links him to the program. Obviously, he did come to the NBA from college. He coached that last back-to-back championship University of Florida team. But he's been in the NBA now for a while. He was with the Thunder before us. So it seems like, college has changed a lot since he coached back in the 2000s or the early 2000s. And he even mentioned that. He said he's committed to the Bulls. He's going to stay. Unfortunately, I'm ready for him to hit the road too. But I don't really see him going back to college either. I think at this point, college is like a different animal than it's ever been. So I don't think a lot of those coaches that are used to how it was before, that came from that style, even the early 2000s, they're probably just not prepared for what it is at this point these days. So stick with what you know, do what you know, Billy, but hopefully you don't have to do it with the Chicago Bulls. Even though I've thought about it, and if we actually got rid of Billy Donovan, knowing the Bulls, it'll probably get a lot worse. They'll probably hire somebody that we've never heard of, some like random basketball association on the other side of the world. They'll hire some guy from over there. So Chicago, everybody, keep your fingers crossed. If you meditate, if you pray, whatever you do, just keep the Bulls there. Let's hope things get better. We deserve better as a fan base. I don't even care about the owner, the ownership, the fans. We deserve better, y'all. We deserve better. But next game's coming up against the Knicks. They're going to be hosting them again. Let me see, actually. They play the Knicks like every other day at this point. Where we at, though? The 14th? Oh, no, not the Knicks. We play them again, though, too. But no, all right, so next game for the Bulls is going to be Thursday, April 11th at the Detroit Pistons. Detroit has the worst record in the NBA. If we can't win this game, then let's just call it quits. Let's sell the team, bring up anything else. I don't care. But next game against Detroit. Detroit has 13 wins. So Bulls, come on, y'all. If y'all can't pull this together, this team, Detroit has nothing to play for. Chicago, you at least have the 9 seed to play for. You got a fan base to play for. I mean, Detroit's Detroit. They obviously won championships. They've beat the Bulls back in those days with Isaiah Thomas and everybody. But come on, y'all. Chicago, do it for us at least. Somebody step up, play some defense. Vooch, we need Vooch to get his feet out of the concrete. Like, that man moves at snail speed. I've never seen a big man just move that slow. It's a bad look, That's the type of tape that you look at Zach Edey, somebody from Purdue, and I'm like, man, I can't imagine him playing defense just for the sole purpose of like a Vooch. But I also don't know if Vooch is just that lazy. But next game for the Bulls, April 11th, Thursday, at the Detroit Pistons. We're fighting for the 9 seed. Detroit's just fighting to get to the end of the season. They only have 13 wins. They really have nothing to look forward to. Bulls have everything to play for. If we don't win this one, there's just really no hope left for this team. Let's just call it what it is. So keep your fingers crossed, y'all. Keep your fingers crossed. But right now, the most likely seeds. So if everything ended today, and this is kind of where it looks like it's going to play out, Bulls will play the Hawks in the play-in tournament. Sixers and the Heat would play each other. Whoever wins between the Bulls and the Hawks gets to play the loser of the Sixers and Heat. Warriors and Lakers will be playing each other in the play-in game, and it's looking likely that that's going to happen unless the Kings just fall apart. Same thing for the Suns, even though they're all pretty close, but Lakers and Warriors has kind of been stuck all year. Every time they take like 4 steps, they take 5 steps right back. But Lakers and Warriors, that'll be an insane play-in game. It's great to see those two kind of, now they're old heads. The LeBron, the Steph Currys get to battle against each other. Suns and Kings. Clippers and Mavericks would be a matchup. Thunder and Pelicans would be great for young teams. Magic and Cavaliers, talk about a snooze fest. Knicks and Pacers, that'd be fun to watch. But, Western Conference is where it's at, y'all. I'm going to post a picture here of or put it up here. This is what the playoff picture looks like right now. So drop a comment. Let me know who you guys think is the favorite out of the West. Who do you think is the favorite out of the East? I think right now, if I had to pick anybody, I would say Mavericks versus Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. And I'm going to go with the Celtics versus let's take a look. I don't know if the Heat can do it. Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. I think Miami makes a run again. Why not? Jimmy Butler, we should have never traded you. I know what you're worth, buddy. I believe in you, Jimmy. So, yeah, I think Celtics versus Heat again in the Eastern Conference Finals. Nuggets versus Mavericks. And I'm going to go with the upset, yo. I think Luka has that type of LeBron Cavs against the Pistons where he beats a team he's probably not supposed to. And I say the Mavericks make it to the finals against the Boston Celtics. And I'm going to say Celtics probably get the best of the Mavericks. They're due. Luka might not win it the first time he gets there, but I think this is the year that Luka makes the finals, y'all. It's a hot topic. But I think this is the year Luka makes the finals. Mark it here. Put it up on the board. Jeremy Libreros, wherever you're at, brother, put it on the board. Put the sticky board up. All right. Gotta drink some water, man. Went on a rant. Ooh. Okay. So let's transition. Let's get out of this basketball talk. Weather's getting nice. Sun's out. Cubs are out. Cubbies right now, third place in the NL Central. 7 wins, 5 losses. They're coming off of a loss tonight, just finished a little while ago. They lost 10-2 to the San Diego Padres. Tough one on the road. They won let's see. They actually started off pretty good. They lost excuse me. Yeah, so just kind of quick recap on the Cubs versus Padres series in general. So Cubs lost the series opener on Monday, 9-8. So Cubs lost the series opener 9-8. Their offense came out hot that day against former Cub Yu Darvish. They were up 8-0, but a story that we all know about, the Cubs bullpen just wasn't up to par. So Cubs starter Javier Assad allowed 2 runs, 3 hits. He had 7 strikeouts. But Padres Fernando Tatis Jr. hit the go-ahead 2-run homer in the 8th, and Robert Suarez came in for his 4th save of the season. So opening game of the series, we were up 8-0. We let them come back. We got some hits. We did some things against Yu Darvish, got him out of the game early. I mean, Javier Assad did his thing, 2 runs, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. But, same thing that we've been looking at since last year. Bullpen just couldn't hold it together. Tatis, 8th inning, hit the go-ahead homer. So that was the first game. Second game, we bounced back. Cubs had a pretty good win, 5-1 against the Padres. Ben Brown, in his first ever MLB start, had 5 strikeouts in 4 2/3 scoreless innings, only gave up 3 hits. And Christopher Morel came up in the 5th, hit a 431-foot bomb, his first ever career grand slam. And San Diego's only run that game came by a pinch hit home run by Eguy Rosario. So 1-1 after those first 2 games. We should have had the first game. Bullpen couldn't hold it together. Then today just kind of got put away by the Padres. 10-2 was the final. Padres went up by 2 early in the game in the 2nd inning. Cubs came back in the 4th, tied it up off a Michael Busch home run. But then Padres came right back in that inning, got another 2 runs back. 6th inning came back with another 3, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. So Padres, they went up early. Cubs looked like they had a chance, but, they finished us off. Kendricks got shelled out there, gave up 7 earned runs. So Dylan Cease gets the W. Kendrick takes the L. He's 0-2 right now with a 12.08 ERA. So Cubs lose the series. Tough one. Should have had the opener. Gave up that lead. Tonight, pretty much we're out of it after the 4th, 5th inning. But, we got to bounce back. Next series coming up for us is going to be starting up. Let me take a look. I should have remembered, but I forgot. Let's take a look. Cubbies. It always makes it hard when you actually want to look on the spot. Teams. There we go. So we lost the series to the Padres. They got us what? They beat us the first game. We won the second. They won the third. But next game coming up for us is going to be Friday. They're going all the way to Seattle. So Cubs are flying out of Seattle, going to go play the Mariners. Mariners are 5-8 right now. So it's going to be out on that West Coast swing. If you're in the Midwest, if you're in Chicago, game's going to be at 8:40 Central. So let's stay tuned. We're fighting. I mean, I know everybody thinks this Cubs team's exciting. We definitely have a bright season ahead of us. I don't know how bright. Maybe it's super sun bright. Maybe it's a nice little star bright. Who knows? But I'm excited for the rest of the year, man. I think if we can hold the pitching together, if the bullpen can figure it out, I think we have, an opportunity to definitely make the postseason. And as we all saw last year with the Diamondbacks, and we've seen it in the past, you just got to make it to the postseason in MLB. MLB's a marathon, y'all. So if you can put it together, you can kind of hit that stride towards the postseason. That's all it takes. So they got a battle this year. NL's tougher than it ever has. AL's tough. A lot of teams out here looking like, those teams to beat. So it's going to be a hard one for the Cubs, but I think they have a chance to at least battle it out for the division. I know Atlanta's out there still. Phillies, the Dodgers are a juggernaut. I was at the game Saturday with some friends, with my wife. It was a banger. We lost, though, but Wrigley's awesome, man. We were lucky enough to sit pretty close down the left field line. We're like in the 6th or 7th row, so we're right on top of the field. Weren't lucky enough to get a foul ball. They were falling all around us, but it was a great time. Always fun to be at Wrigley. Great time when the weather gets better. I didn't realize that the game was like at 3:20. If you're a Cubs fan, you're used to 1:20 start time. That's like the Bible around here. 1:20 start time, boom, I'm there. It was at a 3:05, I think, because it was like a game of the day. I think it was on Fox. So we were freezing. The sun got out of our spot within like 5 minutes of being there. So it was cold, but that's what you're used to as a Chicago fan, man. And that's what sucks when our owners don't do anything, because we're always out here no matter what. Rain, snow, sun, no shine, gray, blue skies, whatever it is, we're at every game. Bulls, Bears, Cubs, anything. So when they're not giving us that same effort, it hurts. But next series up against the Mariners. Mariners right now, like I mentioned, they are 5-8. So they're coming off, a few losses here. 3-7. They actually won their last game, but let's take a look at who's actually going to be starting there. The little logos are so small. You got to be like, okay. You pretend to read like you got bifocals. You don't even got bifocals. I'd be like pretending as if that's going to make a difference. Here we go. So Jordan Wicks starting for the Cubs, who the Mariners are going to be having. So Jordan Wicks against Bryce Miller. So we'll see, We got this, y'all. Cubbies got to make some moves, though. Can't fall behind right now. Looking at the standings, Pittsburgh's actually 9-3 right now in first place, but doubt that's going to last. We've all seen that movie play out plenty of times. Milwaukee ahead of us. We can catch them, but Cubs are fighting, man. It's going to be a fight this year, but no matter what, you got to stay true to that Cubby blue. Can't forget that. Cubs are going to be that team, Can't forget it. White Sox, another story. I'll give them like 20 seconds of airtime. 2-10, probably the absolute embarrassment of the MLB. I'm a Bulls fan, so I know the pain. I can't even imagine being a Bulls and a Sox fan. At least I only get one side of that. Bulls and Sox, for those of you that don't know, they have the same owner. So the same types of things happen for both organizations. They're always kind of right there, but he'll never pay the extra luxury tax to get the players they need, to get the wins they need, to get the championships. So White Sox fans, my fellow Chicagoans, I feel sorry for you guys, but it is what it is. And now I live on the South Side now, so don't associate me with that. I'm still a born North Sider, born and raised, y'all. Go Cubs, go. We're on the brink. But let me know what you guys think what is going on with the Cubbies this year. So it's exciting, but maybe not championship aspirations, but we're getting there, you know? We're on the verge. We're on the verge. We got to get some water. I'm excited for Bellinger, though. I'm excited for Morel. I'm excited for a little bit of Seiya Suzuki. I mean, that's what it is all about right there. Seiya's always got all that energy out there. You got Cody. You got Seiya. You got Chris Morel. You could have whatever you like. The Cubbies could have whatever they like. But they should do is get the parking cheaper, man. I was looking for a spot hero for the Cubs game. It was like a minimum like $90, which I get it. There's not that much parking, so I guess the prices go up. But what you got to do like a real Chicagoan is you go find that street. You go find a little area where there's no permit parking, where you're within a good distance. You hop in the 3-minute Uber, bada boom, bada bing. You're at Wrigley. You're at CC. You're everywhere. Shout out to Zillow at CC, though, man. Shout out to the guy, always taking care of the home team. But up next, and I talked about it a little bit last week, but it was preliminary. I low-key didn't do all my research, but what I'm pumped up for this weekend, probably the most exciting thing on the sports radar, is going to be the UFC 300. So the 300th UFC card, it's going to be straight banger. You got 3 championship fights, the heavyweight fight, the BMF fight, which is the, the baddest motherfucker fight. You got the women's strawweight fight. So you got let's put it right here real quick. So you got 3 championship fights. You got the heavyweight title fight, the women's bantamweight title fight, and the BMF championship fight. So 3 bangers: Alex Pereira against Jamal Hill, Wei Lee against Yan, Justin Gaethje against Max Holloway. And that's just in the main card. Those are the last 3 fights. You still got Charles Oliveira versus Tarukin. I don't even think that's how you say it. I just butchered his name. Tarukin. There we go. And then Bo Nichols against Corey Brundage. So there's nothing but heat on this fight card, guys. Definitely check it out, man. Cody Brundage against Bo Nichols is starting off just the pay-per-view. But let's look before the pay-per-view. So you got the pay-per-view right here. So pay-per-view for the fight. You see that lineup right there. Those are the 5 fights on pay-per-view. Then you got the prelims. And these, I thought I was seeing things. I scrolled down earlier and I'm like, wait, what? They got Yuri Prohaska against Alex Rakic. I was like, I must be looking at a different card. You got Qatar against Sterling. I mean, these are like championship level fights that they're just giving away for free in the prelims. So I'm excited. I mean, Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. That's going to be exciting. I mean, I think the only people that I actually don't know is the last 2 fighters, but every fight here, and these aren't, sometimes you hear about like, oh, it's going to be a good UFC fight card. And sometimes those are the type of fights that maybe like a UFC fan likes. For example, like a basketball fan liking the Spurs. This is different. So there's some times where, yeah, it is like the UFC could be more of like, if you're just a fan, you're going to like it. Some of that ground and pound, some of the stuff where, you just see them holding on the ground. That's like a basketball fan liking the Spurs. This weekend, this is going to be like 2014 LeBron, nothing but power, nothing but force. Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill, both have like hands of steel. Both of these dudes will knock you out with one punch. Wei Lee's probably like the baddest girl fighter that's been out there since like Amanda Nunes. She's tiny, but she's relentless. She kicks everyone's ass, and she's fighting in her first title fight against another person that's also Chinese. So it's the first time in UFC history where it's a China versus China matchup. Then you got Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway for the BMF belt. These 2 dudes are both known for just being scrappers, for just brawling. Somebody's going to get knocked out. I'm afraid it's going to be Max Holloway. I like Justin Gaethje, but man, it's a little scary to imagine Max out there with them. They're probably similar like weight, but just stature. Justin's bigger, and he's got those hands, y'all. I've seen him put a lot of people to sleep. Then you got Oliveira up after that against Saryukin, and that's going to be interesting, butchering his name over and over. Sorry for the wait. But yeah, that fight's going to be crazy. Oliveira is a championship level fighter. He has like the most submissions, TKOs, everything. He has a full game. Anything he could do it. Knock you out. He can do pretty much anything to you on ground and pound. Then Bo Nickel, probably one of those up and coming names UFC's trying to build. And it's surprising that he makes the main card over like a Yuri, Prohasic and Rakic, so it's Prohaska. So it's interesting right now to see what they're trying to do. And I think it obviously, kind of tells you that they want to, build up Bo Nickel. They want to probably have like an American guy that they can pump up, which it makes sense. But I'm really surprised that he made it in the main card over some of these fighters that are in the prelims. Aljamain Sterling is not even like a year away, or not a year away, but he's not even a year removed from being a champion. Rakic is a dog. Prohaska is a dog. He just lost to Alex Pereira. But it's insane. They got them all fighting down here, but fights start early. I mean, Jesus, even the fight before that is crazy. I'm lost right now. Davison Figueiredo against Corey Garbrandt is going to be early. Bobby Green. You got Andrade versus Rodriguez. This is a crazy fight card, y'all. If you're not a UFC fan, this might be the fight card that changes your mind. And if you are a UFC fan, you're probably as excited as I am. I mean, that first fight, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, it's, a fight of two champions, technically. Alex Pereira just won the championship in the heavyweight section, or the heavyweight, light heavyweight, my bad. So in the light heavyweight matchup, Alex Pereira just won that championship. So light heavyweight championship, he beat Yuri Prohaska. A lot of people were actually surprised, but Alex took him down with the leg kicks. Same thing he's kind of done to Izzy in the past. And Izzy, my favorite fighter, but Alex has not only those crazy hands that he'd be knocking people out, but he has those legs just kind of chopping people down like a tree. Their calves look all red and swollen by the second or third round. That's what he did to Yuri. Heavy hands came out. He rocked him, caught him with the right, caught him with the left, put him down on the ground, TKO. They ended the fight. I mean, Yuri, a lot of people were worried because he's got a little bit more wrestling. They thought he'd be able to get Alex down, but Alex seems to have just enough, to keep himself off the ground and stay up standing. Jamal Hill, he actually beat Glover Teixeira, who's actually Alex Pereira's mentor, and Jamal beat Glover for the championship. It's been, I think, about a year and a half or more, but he beat him in a kind of surprising fight, just kind of pieced them up, beat him in a decision after 5 rounds, but it was definitely straight up a Jamal Hill fight. After that, on just some freak accident, he was playing basketball in some tournament, ended up rupturing his Achilles, so he wasn't able to fight. He actually gave up the belt just so that it wouldn't remain under somebody that wasn't going to fight for over a year or about that much. So, he's technically a champion. Alex is the current champion. Both of them have crazy knockout power. So we got to stay tuned for that one. If you walk away from the TV for even 2 or 3 seconds, you might witness somebody get their lights put out. So stay tuned for that fight. Weili versus Yan. Weili has been that name now, probably the most famous name outside of right now. In the women's side, Amanda Nunes, especially now that Amanda retired. But Weili's a former champion, current champion. Jan's kind of finding her groove. She's been in the UFC now, I believe, since about 2017. So Jan's been in the UFC since 2017. She only has 2 losses since joining the UFC, and she's won her last 2 as well. So her first crack at it, I don't know if she really has a chance. I haven't seen her fight too much, to be quite honest with you. But Weili's world class. She's the standard. So you got to expect a lot of good things out of this fight. And she's always Weili's always involved in a brawl. So all of her fights are usually worth the watch. And then after that, the BMF battle on the line, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, 2 guys that just love to fight, that have both been willing to just stand up, stand there, throw punches, throw hands, forget about any wrestling, forget about going to the ground, forget about boring fights. These 2 guys put on a show every time. If there's one fight you have to watch, I mean, actually, these are all so good, but this is definitely within the top 2 or 3 best fights of the night. That's why it's a third fight of the night. I'll probably say this one plus the Alex versus Jamal Hill, just because the knockout power. Weili versus Yan is going to be just an intense, full-on brawl. But you know that there's Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. It could end in one punch. Same thing for Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. So that's what makes those 2 fights so exciting. But Justin, man, he's probably one of the most exciting fighters in all of the UFC. Every fight he has is always crazy. He's starting to learn a little bit more after after losing to Dustin Poirier, and getting that lick back. He ended up beating Dustin, knocked him out with the leg kick. But it's just, it's going to be insane. I can't imagine Max fighting against Justin. Max has crazy hands, but he's always been more, I feel like, about beating you over a long period of time. Kind of that Nate Diaz style where, yeah, they can knock you out, but it's going to take some time, versus where Justin just has that instant one hitter quitter, lights out, you're going to sleep power. So that fight's going to be insane. Charles Oliveira trying to kind of bounce back. He's been on a little bit of a downward since he lost to Islam in that fight a couple years ago now, or not even, it might have been recent. But it'll be interesting to see that one. I don't really know too much about the other guy, so I'm not going to pick that just yet. I'll probably do a little video to see who I'm picking for the fights later this weekend. Then Bo Nichols, huge favorite, minus 2,500. Still got to prove himself though, man. I'm a little surprised at 5-0. He's on this card, like I mentioned. They put him above a few other people. So I'm not too sure how I feel about that. But yeah, UFC 300. First, let's just go real quick rundown. Last time, UFC 300. What is it right here? So UFC 300, light heavyweight championship, Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill. Then right after that, women's strawweight title fight. You got Wei Li versus Yan. First ever China versus China championship matchup. Going to be one for the ages. Definitely got to keep your eyes open for that one. Then the BMF in the lightweight division. BMF title on the line. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. Fireworks are going to be flying. Hands are going to be flying. Someone's probably going to get knocked out. And then after that, you got Oliveira coming up. He's trying to bounce back after losing to Islam. And then last fight of the pay-per-view, Bo Nichols versus Brundage. Bo Nichols, popular on the UFC side, but the fans still want to see more. But this UFC banger right here, y'all, UFC 300, brings me back to the Chief Keef days. 300. How old am I? 300. What fight card is this? 300. Stay with it. UFC 300. We're going to have to, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And they're in Las Vegas. We're flying out right now. Oh, my mama. Let's go. Oh, my mama. All right. And the last topic of tonight, guys, by the time this comes out, it'll probably be tomorrow. But right now I'm recording, it's Wednesday night. Last thing I'm going to talk about, NCAA women's and men's tournament championships. I was doing a lot of the previews, the picks, doing like that throughout the tournament. My pick on the men's side ended up not winning. They got knocked out early, North Carolina. But let's start off with the women's first, man. They've been the best this year. Women's college basketball definitely took over. Men's college basketball this year took over the headlines, took over the ratings, took over in popularity. And it always comes in basketball. It comes down to stars. And the women's side had all the stars this year. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso. You got everybody over there on the women's side. Can't even hate. They had a great game last Sunday for the championship. So in the championship game, which was a lot earlier than I think anybody wanted, it was at 2 o'clock on a Sunday. South Carolina defeated Iowa 87-75. South Carolina finishes out the season undefeated, 38-0. They got the revenge after losing to Iowa last year. So South Carolina wins the championship. I believe that's 2 championships like in the last 3 years or so. Dawn Staley had a great press conference after, or interview after, talking about a little bit of everything about her team, about women's college basketball, gave some love to Caitlin Clark. So, couldn't be better to see a nice team win like that. South Carolina is going to be there to dominate, I would say, probably again next year. They're losing 2 players. They're losing Camila Cardoso, and I believe they're also losing my favorite player to say, Pow Pow. So South Carolina is going to be losing Camila Cardoso and the favorite name in college basketball, Pow Pow. They're both going to be leaving. Both are seniors. Camila Cardoso going to the WNBA, already in some mock drafts. But South Carolina just dominated with the team effort, a little bit of everything. Their leading scorer was actually a freshman. She had 19 points off the bench. Tessa Johnson, she was making it rain out there, hitting threes, doing a little bit of everything. So it really showed that depth and how deep that team is on South Carolina. They had 11 points from Kitts, 15 from Cardoso, 14 from Pow Pow, and they had 19 from Johnson. So Johnson off the bench led the team. It was great. Bree Hall played great out there. A little bit of everybody. Was it Bree Hall? No, actually, it wasn't Bree Hall. My mistake. It was Raven Johnson. Raven Johnson put the clamps on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark did finish with 30, which is obviously obviously great. So let's not even say it like that. But Raven Johnson was just putting pressure on her the entire game. But like I mentioned, Caitlin Clark did finish the game with 30, or was it 31? She finished with 30. So Caitlin Clark finished with 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. But kind of is what everybody expected. It just wasn't enough to go up against that South Carolina team. They looked a lot smaller than South Carolina, and it was pretty noticeable down low. They weren't really able to get to the basket and really attack as much as they could. Overall, their team size was just a lot smaller, relying a lot more on perimeter play. And they were just in Caitlin Clark's grill all night. She still had 30, but, they were just nonstop in her space, not letting her move. South Carolina takes it home, though, 38-0. Caitlin Clark going to the WNBA. Right now, she's number 1 in almost everyone's mock draft, going to Indiana Fever. So, stay tuned. Keep your eyes out open for her. I think an article came out today where, they already have like the most nationally televised games set up for next season. So drop a comment. Let me know. Do you think Caitlin Clark's going to be just as popular in the WNBA as she was in college basketball? Is she going to make the WNBA more popular? Who knows? We'll see. But she's, one of those names you can't forget. So let's see. Yeah. So quickly run it back for 30. The quick spiel. South Carolina defeated Iowa 87-75. Caitlin Clark went off for 30. Wasn't enough to defeat them. Camila Cardoso helped down low. A little bit of everything from South Carolina. Just a big team win. Tessa Johnson led the team with 19 points. South Carolina stays undefeated. Caitlin Clark's heading to the WNBA. Is she going to be more popular there? Will she make the WNBA more popular? We're going to find out. And just right after that, men's college as well. Oh, actually, let's not even do men's college yet. We got to get into this real quick. So speaking of Caitlin Clark going to the WNBA, let's take a look at a quick mock draft here. So looking right now, you could see Indiana Fever. They got number 1 picking Caitlin Clark. I mean, speaks for itself. Even if there's other players that might be better or bigger, she's going to bring all the attention. She's that name that everybody's going after. So Indiana definitely going to be picking up Caitlin Clark. She's staying in the Midwest, going to be in Central Time, so games will be on at great times. They're saying Cameron Brink out of Stanford is going to go to the Sparks. And then number 3 to the Chicago Sky says we're going to be picking Camila Cardoso. So that'll actually be interesting. Sky got to rebuild the team. I don't even know who's on our team at this point. We got our dub when we had Candace Parker. Things kind of fell apart after that. And then they also have us picking up Angel Reese with the 8th pick. So, I mean, hey, that sounds like a sweet rebuild for the WNBA, Chicago Sky. Pick up Camila Cardoso. Pick up Angel Reese. Let's start a new wave. Let's start a new age. It's going to be a great opportunity. Caitlin Clark will be down the road as a rival in Indiana. Let's get Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso to team up. They both beat her in the national championship. They could both beat her in the WNBA. Bring them to Chicago. Let's ride. Let's sky Chicago. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, WNBA dreams. It's going to be crazy. Who knows? Maybe she'll get drafted to the Big 3. Also a big opportunity. And for the men's college final, 75-60, UConn defeated Purdue. Game started off hot. Zach Edey was dominating in the beginning. He was doing that typical move, going straight to his left shoulder, hook shot with his right. He was dominating a little bit on both ends, blocks, shots, everything. But UConn, just too much to handle, guys. I mean, let's be realistic. Zach Edey, what else could you do? 37 points, 10 rebounds. You need a little bit something from the rest of your team. Nobody else in the starting lineup had more than 12. One of their players that started had 0. So just what everybody kind of expected. Purdue had Zach Edey, but not enough to overcome the entire UConn team. UConn had Newton, Klingon, they got Castle, they got Spencer, they have everybody. I mean, they had a little bit of just that whole college factor, every player that's doing exactly what they need to do, pass the ball when you need to pass it, shoot when you need to shoot it. UConn dominated. They got their coach Hurley is taking over the headlines, dominating as well. UConn now has like the most national championships or something like that in the last 25 years. So it's been very interesting to watch that rise. They're doing it very low key, under the radar. UConn's the first back-to-back champion since the Florida Gators in 06-07. And what's going to stop them from winning next year? Who knows? But another dominating performance. They pretty much ran their way through the entire tournament. I don't think they won any game by less than 10 points. So just utter domination. Zach Edey had 37 and 10, but not enough. And Newton led the UConn Huskies in scoring all season, led them again that night with 20. Spencer with 11, Klingon with 11. What is interesting, though, is how, I think Zach Edey outplayed Klingon straight up. Donovan Klingon. Is that his name? Yeah, is his name. So I think Zach Edey dominated Donovan Klingon. And all of the rankings, a lot of these different mock drafts, they actually have Klingon going ahead of Edey. So I get it. I guess Klingon looks like he's a little bit more laterally quick, or he can move a little bit more side to side. But Zach Edey, I think, is actually better. So I'd be surprised. I'm not sure why you'd want to pick Klingon over Edey. Edey at least put 37 on his head and put him in foul trouble. But Purdue, man, it's got to be tough. They're like the Clippers of college basketball. They're always right there, but just can't get over the hump. They almost became the first team, not the first team, but they almost became the second team, like the Virginia did a couple years ago, to lose to a 16 seed, make it all the way back and win the final. But who knows what they're going to do next year. You know, they can't bring back Zach Edey. Zach Edey's got to go home at some point. Can't keep letting that guy stay up there. A lot of people are saying, though, that Zach Edey's stock draft is on the rise. So he might move up into a little bit higher position. Last year, he was only picked or ranked to get picked somewhere in the 50s or 40s in the second round. Now there's looking like there might be a team that ends up taking him out of the lottery. So, you need size in the NBA. That's the thing that a lot of people like to pretend or play around like, hey, the guards take over. That was one team. That was the Warriors. But in the NBA, you need size. Celtics, one of the biggest teams in the NBA, pause. Same thing for the Nuggets. Same thing for the Timberwolves. The Thunder overall have a tall team. They still probably got to get a couple taller dudes, but also a taller team. So I definitely could see a good team at least taking Zach Edey. And I forgot who made the point, but he played almost every minute in that championship game. So he definitely would have more athleticism, more quickness, look a little bit different if he's only playing what's expected in the NBA, which is probably going to be like a 20 to 25 minutes for a rookie. And probably he's going to most likely be a backup big at first. So he'll probably look a lot better, but we'll see how he plays out. This year's NBA draft so far, not looking too deep in talent, not a lot of names that people are excited about, not as much as they were last year or in years previous. But it'll be great to see what happens. But in other news, everyone's college favorite, Robbie Avila, is entering the transfer portal out of Indiana State. He went viral. He's the guy with the goggles, with the blue Indiana State jersey, got a bunch of love for his game, looks old school, different type of player. So he ended up going viral. He's a 6'10", 240-pound center that wears goggles. So, the internet just has to eat that up. You can't be a 6'10" dude wearing goggles in the NCAAs and nobody's not going to notice it. Giving Horace Grant vibes, making me think back of the 80s and 90s basketball. And he also happens to play at the same school that Larry Bird played at. So another white dude that's getting buckets just makes perfect sense. And here's a picture of Robbie. Here's his best nicknames that they got going. You got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd, College Jokic, Larry Blurred, Rob Wave, Milk Chamberlain, and Steph Blurry. So let me know which one you think is Robbie's best nickname. So let's run them back real quick. Robbie Avila, 6'10", 240-pound center, rocking goggles out of Indiana State, the same school as Larry Bird. His current nicknames are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Nerd, College Jokic, Larry Blurred, Rob Wave, Milk Chamberlain, and Steph Blurry. Let me know which one you think's the best. This guy is going to be a stud next year. Bring him to U of I, baby. Actually, forget U of I, even though they'll make it farther. Get him to the Leathernecks, y'all. Get him to Macomb, Illinois, WIU. Make the call. He's clearly likes the small town. Indiana State, where could that possibly be? Bring him to WIU. He looks like a Leatherneck, guys. The goggles, are you freaking kidding me? Big vibes right there. I'm liking it. And also, big news in the NCAA side. Bronny James entering the transfer portal, leaving USC. Had a rough start to the season, obviously had the heart issue. That plays a big factor. I'm assuming it took him a long time to get back into shape, get back into being comfortable playing. But he's going to be leaving USC. He also put his name into the draft for the NBA, but you're allowed to do that in the NBA just to kind of get scouts information, see what they want you to work on, what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses. So just because he declared for the draft doesn't mean he's actually going to be in the draft. But it's going to be interesting to see where is he going to transfer. Is it going to be a big school like Duke, a big school like Ohio State? Is it going to be a mid-major? Is he just going to go to the NBA? Are they going to make somebody pick him? Are the Lakers going to pick him? Who knows what's going to happen? Drop a comment. Is he transferring? Is he going to the draft? Let me know what you think he's going to do, because it looks like anything's on the table right now. But yeah, Bronny James in the transfer portal, put his name in the draft. And it's hard, man. I mean, even talking about him now, he's just someone's kid. He's just someone's boy. But it's popular. It's entertaining. And at the end of the day, LeBron always talks about him. So it's hard to be like, yo, keep him out of the spotlight when they're always kind of like putting him in the spotlight. But I think he has the NBA like quickness and all that. But I mean, let's be real. He's going to make the NBA just because who his dad is. But that's the reality of the world. A lot of people get a job because of who their dad is. A lot of people get a job because of who their mom is. Never been my version of life, but that happens for other people. You can't hate on it. Think about it as yourself. If you built something up and you worked all your life and you could leave something for your kid or help him out in any way, you would do it. So you can't hate on LeBron for that. The little annoying part is that LeBron talks about him, brings him up all the time, and then wants to be like, hey, guys, he's just a kid, blah, 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 blah. Then don't bring him up in front of everybody. You have like 1 billion followers. If you keep talking about him, then people are going to look at him just like you I don't understand, but people look at celebrities as like an object. They're going to do the same thing to Bronny. So be careful, but we'll see where he ends up transferring to. I'm talking to like LeBron doesn't know or isn't smarter than me. Yeah, but let's be careful with what we wish for, Bronny. You might end up in a school that's even farther away, or he might just stay in LA. Who knows? But thanks for stopping by. This was episode number 3 of the Unlimited Characters podcast. We talked about the NBA. We talked about the Bulls. We talked about Chicago Cubbies. Jeez, why did that happen? I'm parched. I need some tea. So we talked about the NBA. We talked about the Bulls. We talked about the Cubbies. We talked UFC 300, NCAA, women's and men's. Where's Bronny going? What's he doing? And I mean, anything else that we could talk about, it's all here, guys. Hit the like button. Drop a comment, subscribe, just do what you got to do. We're trying to build the ant farm. We're trying to take this to the next level. Let me know, guys. Drop a comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, Entertainment773, TikTok's Entertainment773, and so is YouTube. Drop a comment, like, follow, share. Bada boom, bada bing, gotta go.